Bonjour. This is Zaasakwe's Intertribal News for the week of December 5th to the 10th. I'm your host, Johnny Hawk. In this week's newscast, we speak with newly appointed Ontario Human Rights Commissioner Maurice Switzer, who's a citizen of the Mississaugas of Alderville First Nation, and a young Anishinabek warrior, Peltier, who shared a message to Prime Minister Trudeau and the Assembly of First Nations chiefs this week. And we take a look at your headlines made across Turtle Island. This is Zaasakwe's Intertribal News. North Dakota. The battle over the Dakota Access Pipeline has not yet finished, despite the Army Corps of Engineers revoking permission to drill below the Missouri Lake crossing. Both the builder and tribes are preparing to go to court in the new year. Energy Transfer Partners, the company behind the Dakota Access Pipeline, has no intention of giving up easily. On Friday, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg rejected ETP's request for an expedited ruling to overturn the Army Corps' denial of a permit. The Army Corps of Engineers and the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe have until January 6 to file their opposition to ETP's claim that they have the permission and permits necessary to drill under the water source crossing, where the tribe gets most of its drinking water. The fragile victory by protesters at Standing Rock has galvanized Indigenous communities north of the so-called border, with some leaders now pledging to block the bitterly contested Trans Mountain Pipeline. With his recent approval of that project, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's biggest challenge may be yet to come. Melina Labicon Massimo, a Lubicon Cree, grew up in Alberta's oil country. Since the age of 7, she has joined many blockades and protests aimed at protecting her community's traditional lands from resource development. Vancouver. The Vancouver Police Department is asking for the public's assistance in locating missing 25-year-old Colette Lepretre out of the Vancouver area. Colette was reported missing on December 2nd, 2016. Colette is described as female, Aboriginal, with brown eyes, brown hair, and is about 5 feet and 5 inches and about 110 pounds. If you have any information in regards to Colette's whereabouts, please contact 604-717-3321. The Kitigan-Zibi Anishinabek has filed an Aboriginal title claim over the Ottawa region, including lands of Parliament Hill, in a legal move expected to upend ongoing modern-day treaty talks with a rival Ontario Algonquin group and their plans to construct a condo development along the Ottawa River. Kitigan-Zibi Chief Jean-Guy White Duck announced Thursday his community filed the Aboriginal title claim with the Superior Court of Ontario on Wednesday. The claim includes the lands of the Parliament buildings, the Supreme Court of Canada, and the National Library and Archives. Okay, now we go to an interview with newly appointed Human Rights Commissioner Maurice Switzer from the Alderville First Nation.
And I live in North Bay, and I'm a citizen of the Anishinabek Nation. I worked for about 20 years, I think, after I left the newspaper business. I worked for First Nation political organizations, the Assembly of First Nations first, and then the Union of Ontario Indians, the Anishinabek Nation, as the communication director, and was the editor of the Anishinabek News, and when I retired several years ago from full-time work, I continued a lot of the public education work that I did, and that's focused on working with primarily educators and students about the treaty relationship, which is so important that people understand, and so many people, politicians, journalists included, have no real concept of the treaty relationship, including by their actions And I've been appointed, I accepted an appointment earlier this year to the Ontario Human Rights Commission, which I thought that I've had some dealings with them over the past number of years, and I mentioned that 2/3 of us no longer, live on reserves. In the absence of having temporarily the lack of recognized protection of our human rights, the right to be free from discrimination based on our creed or our language or our belief systems. Living in urban centers, we are covered. We are protected by the Ontario Human Rights Commission.
It's also, I guess, federally, I guess it would be working with too. If a First Nation citizens felt, I guess, kind of a case against their band council, for instance, it would be like considered. It wouldn't be considered like from a not Ontario. Is there like a difference between Ontario and a federal?
Yes. Someone living on reserve falls under the purview of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, and actually APTN reported just recently that the number of complaints against First Nation leaders is rising, and we know, unfortunately, through experience that issues like who gets housing and whatnot become sometimes very contentious on reserve, because many of our First Nations don't have the resources or the capacity. Unfortunately, sometimes not the effective leadership that treats all of the people living in their community, fairly. And the highest profile case for Indigenous peoples involving the Canadian Human Rights Commission came down with the decision on January the 26th of this year, of 2016, in which, amazingly, they found the federal government of Canada guilty of discriminating against Indigenous children by virtue of underfunding child welfare on reserve compared to the funding that children's aid societies are given by provinces, and that came that was the famous case that was launched by Cindy Blackstock of the First Nation Child Caring Association almost a decade earlier. And the Harper government fought it tooth and nail, delayed it. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees trying to keep it from getting to the courts, because it's a really landmark tribunal decision, because in the same way as child welfare is underfunded, so is just about everything else on reserves, education, just about everything, health care. And unfortunately, the tribunal has asked the federal government twice to comply with their finding, and the government of Justin Trudeau has yet to do that. So, the good thing is that Canada is a country in which its own human rights tribunal can find its own government guilty of discrimination. But the unfortunate part is that, like many other First Nation rights, the governments seem to be able to just kind of ignore the findings. So we're hoping that as we build up our allies, and I believe that they're starting to understand this systemic discrimination of First Peoples. That I'll just add one thing, John. It was announced actually yesterday that the Ontario Human Rights Commission, we released publicly, and it's available online at the Ontario Human Rights Commission website, our strategic plan for 5 years. And there are 4 what they call strategic priority areas that the Commission is going to be working on. And the first one is reconciliation. and that talks about creating more awareness about Indigenous peoples and our rights, and the strategic plan talks about the importance of honoring the treaty relationship and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So one of the reasons I was pleased to accept an appointment is that this is an agency that has a real commitment to to those issues, a commitment that sometimes I think political leaders across the country are a bit slow in understanding and in adopting, and so I think that the courts and sort of quasi-judicial, agencies like human rights commissions are in a position where we can lead the understanding of the importance of these issues for Canadians, and hopefully politicians will fall in line with actions, in the months ahead.
That was newly appointed Human Rights Commissioner of Ontario, Maurice Switzer from the Alderville territory. Up next, we got our interview with a brave little Zaasakwe who recently went to an Assembly of First Nations meeting and shared her message to the PM, Prime Minister Trudeau, and the AFN chiefs. Here's Autumn Peltier and some words of encouragement from her mother, how she raised such an awesome little Zaasakwe.
Ani Maskwa Dijnakas Nageze Dodem Wikwam Kong Donjaba. My English name is Autumn Peltier. I'm 12 years old. I come from the Wikwam Kong Indian Reserve. Ever since I was a little girl, my mom has always taught me about the environment and to protect the environment. And all my inspiration comes from my Auntie Josephine Mindaman, and I just follow in her footsteps. And who asked me to go down there was Isidore Day. He asked me to go deliver a gift to the Prime Minister, a water bundle.
Okay, so can you, I know you shared a little bit, how has your family and your community helped you to grow your passion for this message you share?
Well, my family is like a lot of my support, and my community also supports me a lot. And my grandpa always gives me encouragement, and he always is teaching me more about the environment and water.
So the environment is tied into a lot with a lot of our beliefs. Are you, as a youth, very active with our spiritual circles and ceremonies?
Yeah, my mom always brings me to ceremonies, and whenever my grandpa has teachings, I always love to go hear him speak about the environment.
Okay, what was it like? How did you feel being in front of those leaders? I know you went last year, and what was it like being in front of the PM and in front of on that platform? And did you feel your message was taken sincerely?
Well, it felt really good being up in front of all the leaders, just so I knew that I was delivering my message to them, and I hope they heard my message, and they were all supporting me, and in front of the Prime Minister, I just felt normal.
Okay, Miigwech. What would you like to share with other young people in regards to your message, or anything else you wanted to share with youth?
Well, I would just like to say to the other youth out there, we are all connected to the land, and we're all capable of being environmental speakers. And I hope we can all work together to raise awareness, because this is our future, and we're the ones inheriting this world. Yeah, I went to this children's climate conference in Sweden.
What was that like?
It was awesome, really cool, to travel to another country.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get involved with that?
Bernadette Shawanda had asked my mom if I would participate in the Children's Climate Conference.
Cool. And what are some of your dreams and things you want to accomplish as you grow older?
Well, I hope that I could become a world leader one day as well. And I can keep on raising awareness.
And now here's Autumn's mom, Stephanie, sharing a little bit about her daughter.
Well, as her mom, of course, I'm very proud of her, and just very inspired. And you know, when she's not sitting around playing around doing little girl things that she does like to do, when she gets serious and she's got this look on her face and she says, "Mom, I got to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." And then we sit down. She'll say, "Let's sit down." So then we start talking. And then she'll tell me how she's feeling and what's bothering her, and like different ideas, like something will come to her and she'll realize that this is pretty serious, Mom. You know, what happens when they take oil out of the ground? Don't they put something back? And I'm like, I don't know. These are questions I can't answer. And like, she's thinking about things all the time. Mm-hmm. And to me, as a parent, I can't just ignore her. And that's like anything, not just stuff about climate and environment. As a parent, when she's got, you know, issues and concerns and she needs to talk, I just drop everything I'm doing and I'll say, "Now, what's going on?" Mm-hmm. And like, you can tell Mommy. And if there's something you can't tell me, I always encourage her to talk to somebody else, like an elder or an auntie. Mm-hmm. So with these things, I believe just being supportive and being active in her life and taking that time to sit down and to really listen to her, it empowers her. And I think a lot of times, like, we have a lot of young parents out there, and, you know, with the impacts of residential school and everything, sometimes we lose that nurturing part. And to me, I'm just trying to empower her and break a cycle and try to lift these girls up so they can be future leaders and they could be good mothers, because we are their teachers. We're their first teachers, and I take that very seriously as a mom. Like, it was actually Gloria King and Hector that talked to me in the beginning about parenting. And I listened to them a long time ago, and after that I said, wow, this is a serious thing, becoming a parent. It almost scared me from becoming a parent. And I took that message serious, and I said, well, this is my commitment and dedication to being a mother and being Anishinabek and being a member of the Medei Lodge. I took those roles and responsibilities of a woman, and I said, well, I have daughters. They have to know what their roles and responsibilities are, and I teach them all the time what young women should be doing and different things they should be learning. So that's, as a parent, that's what I've been doing and supporting, and it's nice that they're actually learning and listening, and they're doing the things that I've been teaching them, and then I just never thought it would go, this would happen. You think about the pictures of the little baby, you look at them and you think, wow, when she's standing up there face to face with the Prime Minister, I'm thinking in my mind, wow, I never ever imagined something like this would happen. And then when I did see her start crying, I said to myself, wow, I wonder what happened. I thought, oh, I wonder if she said something to him. Then when I went to hug her, I said, what happened? She goes, Mom, I had seconds. I didn't get to say my speech, but I had seconds with him. And I asked him, she told him, she goes, I'm not happy with the choices you made. And she goes, and then I started crying. She goes, I had more to say, but I was too upset. And then the only thing that came out after that was pipelines. And then I hugged her. I said, wow, I'm very proud of you. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then she goes, did I do something wrong? Are people going to get mad at me? Are the chiefs going to be mad? I said, no, you're a little girl. They can't get mad at you. I said, you were just being honest, speaking your truth, and you had an opportunity, and you took it. And I was really proud of her for doing that, and it just made me feel like, teaching her to stand up what she believes in. And it made me feel proud and thinking maybe I'm doing something right. We're not perfect, but, I try to stick to our teachings every day. And as a mom, that's what I'm feeling, and what I've been experiencing was pretty tiring being out there. I couldn't wait to get home. And now we're just back to our normal lives. They're doing chores, they're playing around, and I'm doing my own little thing here. So it feels good to be home, though.
Cool. Well, again, thanks so much, eh?
Yeah.
I just really like that input, how you shared that too, the connection we have as parents too.
Yeah. Cool. And my friends Christy Belcourt and Isaac Murdoch have been very supportive with her, and they've been the auntie and the uncle that have been close by that she can turn to when she's got trouble. So they were also pretty supportive with us, and it feels good when you have traditional family that's close to you. It's a good support system.
That was Stephanie Peltier, Autumn's mom. All right, we'd like to thank you for tuning in on this week's newscast. Stay tuned for next week, and if you have a news tip, give me a shout on ojibwerebel.com or check out the links to contact us, and keep listening to Zaasakwe Online Radio, where we have your music of the resistance and resurgence. This is Johnny Hawk for this week's newscast. Miigwech et Bama Pi.